Hello, and this is Big Bang Bot, and today I will be re-reviewing Crash Bandicoot for the Sony PlayStation. Now, back in November 2012, I made 4 reviews on 4 Crash games. The reviews sucked. Not as much as my reviews before them, but they still sucked. And I've just wanted to revisit them for like a while now. So I am going to revisit this game and tell you my opinions on it now, and not like my 12-year-old self back in November 2012, or this was October 2012 when I made my Crash 1 review, but whatever. So anyway, the game has a very, 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 very long development cycle, so I'm not going to tell you anything. Okay, I will tell you a bit. After Naughty Dog made Way of the Warrior, they wanted to make a 3D platformer. They chose the PS1 and they made it an exclusive for the PS1 because the other consoles didn't have good enough hardware and the N64 games were too expensive to publish. So then they made the game, they had a bunch of ideas for the characters, and then they eventually went with an Orange Bandicoot. So the game was eventually released on August 31st, 1996 in North America, November 2nd, 1996 in Europe, and December 6th, 1996 in Japan. The game received above average reviews, and it managed to sell over 6.8 million copies, which must have meant that the game must have been good. But is it good nowadays? Well, let's find out. Now, I'm too lazy to tell you the story, so I'll let Cadicrus explain it. And do not kill me, Cadicrus, if you're watching this. Or any of his fans.
It was about this thing created by this guy who escaped from this guy because this guy is evil and wants to steal this thing's girlfriend and enslave humanity.
The story is not amazing, but for what there is, it's okay. I wasn't expecting anything amazing, and I don't really care for the story anyway, so let's get on to the gameplay! Oh, and just to let you know, my PS1 hates this game. It does not want to play it, so I'll be playing it on the PS2 over here. If you have a problem with that, then I'll kill you, and then I'll eat you, and then I don't know what I'll do after that, but I'll marry your children. That's what I'll do. Yeah, that's perfect. Even if you don't have any children. Crash Bandicoot is a very simple game. All you really have to do is get from point A to point B. So, yeah. It's not like in Mario 64, it's like, yes! I can go wherever I want! I can jump however I want! I can kill Goombas by either jumping on them or sliding into them. I can grab bob-bombs and make them explode. I can collect poor coins in 3 colours. Yellow, red, and blue. And most important, I can do whatever people want in this huge world. Libre soy, libre soy. I can go wherever the beep I want. Libre soy, libre soy. Mario is in 3D. I do care that I can't speak in Spanish. Let Mario run around. This game is the best thing that's ever came out. But instead it's like, hey, I can move in more than one direction. Well, that's cool. But I'm not free. That sucks. Oh, I wish I bought an N64 along with Mario 64 now. The controls in the original Crash Bandicoot are very simple. You move around with the D-pad and you can't use the analog stick because this game was released before the analog sticks. You jump with the X, you can spin with either circle or square, and you can look up your inventory with triangle, and you pause with start, and to go back to the map you press select on the pause menu. The controls are very simple. Unfortunately for Crash and his first adventure, the controls aren't perfect. You see, when you jump, Crash does feel quite slippery. I mean, he just moves all over the place when you jump and move the D-pad. And when you jump and need to spin, Crash won't stop spinning. That's right, he will keep spinning. So he'll dart out of control, which can sometimes lead to cheap deaths. And that is really annoying. But other than that, as well as the slippery jumping, the game does control fine, and it's not really Naughty Dog's fault that you need to use the D-pad. On Crash's journey, as well as meeting enemies and obstacles, there are many items. The most important ones are the boxes. Now, I'll name every single one of them to you. There are normal things which contain Whompers, and it is kind of random how many Whompers that come out. These question mark boxes, most of the time they give you Whompers, but sometimes they can give you extra things, which I'll get into in a bit. There are these lined boxes which basically let you bounce with them, and you can get up to 10 Whompers out of them. Then there's this box with an arrow with it, which basically makes you jump higher, which is interesting. Then there's the boxes with Crash's head on them, and they'll give you extra lives, and trust me, there are loads of these. Then there are these TNT crates, which if you jump on, they'll start a countdown, and then you've got to get away from them, or else they will blow you up. Then there are checkpoint crates, which, well, give you a checkpoint and you restore to them when you die, and they're the best and the worst crates in the game, and I'll explain that later. And then we have the Aku Aku crates, but I will explain those in more detail. You see, Crash can't take damage, which means that one hit from anything will instantly kill him. But if you collect Aku Aku, by the way, he's a Mask of an Ancient Witch Doctor, he'll let you take an extra hit. If you collect another Aku Aku while you still have your old Aku Aku, he will turn another colour, and this will basically give you another hit. And if you collect one more after that, you become invincible. That's all I have to say. You become invincible. I don't need to say anything else about that. You become invincible. And you can practically destroy every single box in your path, which helps most of the time, but sometimes it does not help at all. Then there are these boxes with exclamation marks, which are made of steel. And once you hit them, they will usually, and I mean usually, make more boxes for you, and then they turn into normal steel crates, which are basically crates you can stand on and crates that you can't destroy. These boxes do have a purpose, I might add, because if you destroy every single box in the level, except for the steel crates which you can't destroy, you will get a gem, which are usually clear. If you collect every single gem in the whole game, you will get the best ending, where Crash and Tana just fly out on an eagle which he killed back in Slippery Climb 1 billion times. So it's nice to see that they became best friends all of a sudden. Some levels contain coloured gems. And when you collect that coloured gem, you can go to an early level and it will open up a pathway in that early level which will lead to more boxes, which means that you can get the gem in that level which you couldn't get before because the pathway to those gems was locked. And now it's not because you collected the coloured gem. Yay! But there's one absolutely terrible thing about collecting the gems. You see, once you get to a checkpoint and if you die after that, you can't get the gem. You can't. The game will literally say, you died, you can't get the gem. Don't bother trying because even if you backtrack, it won't work. In the Japanese version of the game, you are allowed to backtrack for the boxes, but guess what? 1, the camera is against you no matter what version you're playing, and 2, in some levels, it's literally impossible to backtrack. So, even when I'm playing the Japanese version, I reset the level once I die once I reach a checkpoint. And I know you're thinking, why don't you just skip the checkpoints? Well, guess what? Checkpoints count as boxes, so you can't miss them. You need to get every checkpoint as well, and that's just so annoying. There are also heads of Torna, Brio, and Cortex, and if you collect all of them, depending on which one you have gotten all 3 of, they'll take you to a bonus stage. Now, if you're playing one of Torna's bonus stage, once you get to the end, you can save the game, which is very helpful, but you need a memory card to do that. And if you don't have a memory card, the game has a password system anyway. Except in the Japanese version. Brio's bonus stages are harder. And guess what? He does absolutely nothing significant for you, except for giving you more extra lives. Which just stronger proves this game's sense of taffle, or table, whichever one you want to call it. And in Cortex stages, which are even harder than Brio stages, you get a key, which unlock even more levels, but there's only 2 keys in the game, which means that you only unlock 2 more levels. That kind of sucks, but whatever. Occasionally, Crash will have to fight a boss, and these things are mostly pretty easy. You always get 2 Aku-Akus, which decrease the difficulty already, and they don't take too many hits, and overall their patterns aren't that hard to memorize, and overall they're just plain easy. For the most part. My favourite boss in the game is the fight against Cortex himself. This fight is just great. Surely it's not that hard, but it's just so epic. The music, the way how he shoots things, it's just so good. Plus, it's just satisfying killing him. Boom! I took you down, Cortex! You should feel sorry for all of the evil things you've done in your life! Yes! Graphically, for a PS1 game released in 1996, this game looks amazing. And even today, it still looks really good. The textures are smooth, they're detailed, they're not blurry, there's loads of colour, and overall the game just looks great. for the time, and even now, it's still pleasant to look at. It's just so smooth, it's colourful, it just looks great for 1996. The music in this game is a mixed bag. Some songs in this game are just meh. They're not very exciting, they're quite boring, and overall they're not the best. But some of the songs are actually pretty good. I have shown you quite a few examples in my previous review, so I'll just let you watch those. The sound effects are just classic sound effects. They've been used in many Crash games after this one, and they're just so nice to listen to. And the voice acting is, well...
Moron! This Bandicoot will be my general, and he will lead my Cortex Commandos to world domination. This time I shall reign triumphant. We are closer than ever before. Quickly, into the vortex. Attack the Cortex. The vortex is not ready. We have no idea what it could do.
Meh. I'd like to mention that Crush You Bandicoot sounds incredibly weird. But if you want to hear him, you'll just have to buy the Japanese version of the game for yourself. Or you can just, you know, look up videos online, but whatever. I do have some negatives with the game. For example, the controls. They are just flawed. They're not perfect, and, well, they can be annoying and lead to cheap deaths sometimes. And I mean very cheap and stupid deaths. Very, very, very cheap and stupid deaths. Another bad thing with this game is the save system. The only way you can save is either by beating a Torna or a Cortex bonus stage, or collecting a gem. And I've already explained how bad the gem system is in this game. It's just a good thing that it was improved in the sequels. Another bad thing is that when you save and you want to turn the game off, once you finish the level, you have to play that level again when you turn the game back on. I'll show you what I mean. Let's say you save in level 13, which is the Lost City. Now, once you finish the level, you move on to level 14. Temple Ruins. But you want to turn the game off, so you turn off your console. And then, when you turn it on, instead of starting at level 14, the Lost Ruins, you have to play level 13 again. That means you have to go through the Lost City all over again. That is just so annoying. Especially if the level you just completed was really, really hard. Also, the true ending isn't really worth it. Yes, it is worth beating the game 100%, mainly due to how hard it is. But the best ending, despite telling you about the villains, isn't really the best thing ever. Plus, the pathway to the best ending is just pointless and dumb. But that's practically all of the negatives I have with the game, other than the slippery controls. Everything about the game is really good. The graphics are good, the music is good for the most part, and it's just fun. And there's even some cool game mechanics. For example, there are 2 levels where it's dark and you have to get Aku Aku masks to make it bright. Now that's actually a really cool idea. Unfortunately in the sequels they replaced Aku Aku with flies, but it's still a cool idea, which I really appreciate. Except for the fact that these levels are quite tough. But the whole game is quite tough, especially near the end, and the game gets really interesting in the end. And another thing I really like about the original Crash, which the next 2 games didn't do as well as, was the variety. The variety in this game is just great. I mean, you're always finding new levels. I mean, no level theme is repeated more than twice in this game, and some aren't even repeated a single time at all. The most times a level is repeated is like once. You see it twice and then you never see it again. That is just so creative. It's either once or twice and never again. That is just so cool. Something that the next 2 games didn't do as well with, because level themes were repeated more and there weren't exactly any levels which were only used like once for the most part. Which is really cool. That and the final fight with Cortex is epic. This is one of my favourite boss fights in video games, along with the fight with him in the 3rd game. It's just so epic. Epic music, great setup, and overall it's just such a good fight. Yes, it may not be the hardest fight in the world, but it's just so epic. And I must admit that beating him is the most satisfying thing ever. Way more satisfying than the true ending, but I've already shown you me beating him, so I won't show you that again. I put it in the PS1 at the beginning of the video, so let's just do that extremely quickly, because why not? Overall, Crash Bandicoot is a good game. Now, it's not perfect. The game can get quite hard sometimes, which isn't a bad thing, but some of the difficulty when it comes to the gems is really, really annoying and unnecessary. And the save system sucks. And the best ending, while worth getting 100%, it's not worth it. But everything else about this game is pretty good. While the controls may be slippery, they still work well, and it looks good. Some of the soundtrack's really good, and overall, it's a good game. I give it a B. It doesn't get a B+ because of its flaws, but it's still a fun game, and I definitely recommend it by today's standards. And I'd also like to mention that Naughty Dog and Sony Computer Entertainment really put a lot of effort into making the Japanese version different and appealing to Japanese audiences. I just appreciate it so much. And it's definitely worth playing if you want to. Now, there are many differences with the Japanese version, and I mean many. But if you want to know what they are, you'll have to play the game yourself, guys. I won't make a camera joke, so I'm getting away from the camera. So anyway, I definitely recommend the Japanese version as well if you want to play it. And overall, I definitely recommend the original Crash Bandicoot. It's a good game. It definitely gets my seal of approval. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, rate, subscribe. This Big Bang Bot signing out. Oh, and just to let you know, the Japanese version has a few songs that are different, and that does not include the Crush You Bandicoot theme. And in case you want to know what my next review is, this next little thingy might explain what it's going to be. Finalmente como nunca, Nintendo has made another Mario Kart. Finalmente como nunca, Mario Kart 8 is gonna be the best. Sorry that I can't speak in Spanish, and that sucks a lot, and I know. Finalmente como nunca, Nintendo has made a Mario Kart video game.